At the same time.
And that can significantly reduce your testing time.
Okay. And then what else?
And you can also scale your tests up or down.
Oh, okay.
It's needed.
So if you need to simulate.
Exactly. If you need to test with 1 million users, you can do that in the cloud very easily.
Got it.
And they even talk about using crowdsourced testing platforms.
Oh, wow. What is that?
Like Amazon Mechanical Turk, where you can basically pay people to test your application.
Wow. Okay.
So you can get real-world feedback.
An army of beta testers at your fingertips.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It is.
How the cloud.
It's a great example of how the cloud is democratizing access to these capabilities.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's making things possible.
It's making things possible.
Yeah.
That were previously out of reach.
For a lot of companies.
Most companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've talked about how the cloud is changing.
Yeah.
You know, the way we design applications, deploy applications, test applications. But there's a big question out there.
There is.
Which is?
How do I choose?
How do I choose a cloud provider?
A cloud provider.
Right.
Because there are so many.
So many options, and it can be really overwhelming.
It's a jungle out there.
It's a jungle out there.
Yeah.
So Chapter 8 is here to guide you.
Guide me through the jungle.
Through the jungle.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So where do we start?
The first thing they emphasize is that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Got it.
The right cloud provider for you
Yeah.
is going to depend on your specific needs.
Like what?
So your business requirements, your technical needs, your budget, your risk tolerance.
Yeah.
All of those factors are going to play into
Make a sense.
the decision.
So it's almost like choosing
It is.
a travel destination.
It is like choosing a travel destination. You wouldn't go to Antarctica if you want to go to the beach.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Right. So you have to
You have
understand
to understand what you need.
what you need
Yeah.
and then find a provider that matches those needs.
No, they break down some of the key business considerations.
Business considerations.
Yeah.
So things like
Like what?
cost, reliability, security, compliance. All of those things are really important.
Yeah, and they encourage you to like really look.
They do. They encourage you to do your research
Yeah.
to go beyond just the marketing hype.
Marketing hype, yeah.
Right, right, because there's a lot of that out there.
Dig into the details of each provider's offerings.
Comparing the pricing models.
Yeah. Comparing pricing models, looking at their service level agreements, understanding their security certifications.
So it's like being a smart shopper?
Yeah. It's like being a savvy consumer.
Yeah.
You don't just buy the first thing you see.
You shop around.
You shop around.
You read reviews.
You compare prices.
Yeah, okay.
You read reviews.
Yeah, okay.
You make sure it's the right fit for you.
And then they also talk about...
They also talk about technical considerations.
All right, like what?
So things like APIs, programming languages, operating systems, databases, management tools.
So it's like
all of these things are really important because you want to make sure that the provider's platform is compatible with your existing systems and workflows.
So if you have like a legacy system, you want to make sure that...
You want to make sure that it can talk to the cloud.
Right, yeah.
That it can integrate with the cloud.
It's almost like...
Checking if an appliance has the right voltage.
Exactly. It's about compatibility.
Yeah, compatibility.
You don't want to get stuck with something that doesn't work.
And they also talk about advanced features.
They do. They talk about things like...
Like what?
Auto-scaling, load balancing, disaster recovery. All of these things are really important.
Yeah, what do they do?
For mission-critical applications. So auto-scaling basically means that the cloud provider will automatically adjust your computing resources based on demand.
So if you suddenly get a lot of traffic...
Exactly. Your application can handle it.
Got it.
Without crashing. Load balancing is about distributing incoming traffic across multiple servers.
Right,
So it's like having a traffic cop directing cars to different lanes to keep things flowing smoothly.
I like that.
And disaster recovery is all about making sure that if something really bad happens, like a natural disaster or a major outage, your application can recover quickly.
So you don't lose data?
You don't lose data. And you can get back up and running as soon as possible.
So it's like an insurance?
Insurance policy.
Okay. For your cloud applications.
So those advanced features are really important to consider.
They are, especially if you have mission-critical applications that can't afford to go down.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's about minimizing downtime and maximizing availability.
Yeah.
And that's what these features help you do.
Now, one of the things I was really interested in was this discussion of service level agreements. SLAs, yeah. Because these are really important.
Contracts.
Correct. The contracts.
Yeah, it's to define the level of service you could expect from a cloud provider.
Exactly.
So what do they typically include?
It's saying, okay, we guarantee that your application will be up 99.99% of the time.
Okay.
Or we guarantee that your data will be backed up every hour. Things like that.
So it's a way to
set expectations.
Hold the cloud provider accountable for providing a certain level of service.
Now, the book does a really good job of kind of breaking down.
It explains how to read and interpret SLAs.
Okay.
Because they can be
confusing.
Very complex and confusing. And they highlight the key metrics to look for.
Okay.
And the potential pitfalls to avoid.
I like that.
So it's almost like a prenuptial
agreement.
Yeah, for your cloud relationship.
Your cloud relationship. I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
You're setting the ground rules up front to avoid any nasty surprises.
Right. No surprises.
I like that.
Yeah. And they provide examples from major cloud providers like Amazon, Microsoft, Rackspace. Showing how each provider structures their SLAs, the guarantees they offer, and the remedies available in case of service disruptions. So it's a
helpful resource.
For anyone who's negotiating with cloud vendors and trying to make sure that their SLA meet their specific needs.
Okay, but even with an SLA, you're going to want to monitor.
You still need to monitor their performance, right?
Yeah, you've got to keep your eye on them.
You can't just trust them blindly.
Right, because
you need to make sure that they're actually meeting their commitment.
Living up to the agreement.
Right.
Okay.
So how do you do that? That's where cloud monitoring tools come in.
Okay.
And the book talks about both provider-specific tools.
Okay.
So things like Amazon CloudWatch, Microsoft Azure Service Health, as well as third-party solutions that can give you a more comprehensive and independent view of your cloud environment.
Okay.
So it's like having a dashboard for your cloud where you can see all the key metrics, you know, how much CPU you're using, how much memory you're using, how much bandwidth you're using.
Right. You can see it all. You can see it all in one place. Okay. And you can get alerts if something goes wrong. Yeah. So if your application starts to slow down, or if your server crashes, you'll get notified.
Okay, that's a good feature.
Immediately. Yeah. So you can take action.
So it's about being...
Right. It's about being...
proactive.
Rather than reactive.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's about staying ahead of the curve. And making sure that your cloud environment is running smoothly.
The grand finale.
The
authors put on their futurist hat.
They do. They put on their crystal ball.
And make some bold predictions.
And they gaze into the future.
Yeah. I love this part of the book.
Yeah. It's always fun to speculate.
It's fun to speculate.
About what the future holds.
Yes.
And they start by discussing the driving forces behind them.
Yeah.
The evolution of the cloud.
So what are they?
So things like the rise of the consumer internet.
Okay, yeah.
The ongoing miniaturization of devices.
Right. Our phones.
Our phones are getting more and more powerful every year.
It's amazing.
And the growing demand for accessibility, affordability, and convenience.
So essentially we want everything now.
We want everything now. We want it to be cheap.
Okay.
We want it to be easy to use. Okay. And we want it to be available everywhere.
There's a lot to ask.
It is.
Yeah.
But the cloud is delivering on all of those fronts.
Yeah, the cloud is answering the call.
It's the perfect platform for this new paradigm.
Okay. And then
they make their predictions.
They lay out 10 bold predictions.
10 bold predictions about the future of the cloud.
Hit me with a couple.
Yeah.
They predict that cloud services will become even cheaper and more reliable.
Okay.
They predict that we'll see the rise of these mega data centers.
Oh, wow.
Housing hundreds of thousands of servers.
That's crazy.
They predict that open source software will become the dominant force in the cloud.
I could see that happening.
And they predict the rise of application frameworks and mashups.
It's like a whole new...
It's a very optimistic vision of the future.
And the cloud is really at the heart of it.
The cloud is the enabler of all of this.
I'm curious about the open source software prediction.
Okay, so they believe that open source software will become even more important in the cloud because it fosters innovation.
Right.
It allows developers to build upon each other's work.
Right.
And it helps to avoid vendor lock-in.
Okay, that's a good point.
So you're not tied to a particular cloud provider.
Right. You have more flexibility, more freedom.
Yeah, okay.
To choose the best solution for your needs.
Now, they also talk about some changes to application development.
How application development will evolve.
Oh, okay.
So they predict that application frameworks will become the primary way to build cloud applications.
So essentially, these are like pre-built
components that you can use to assemble your application.
Got it.
So instead of writing all the code from scratch, you can just use these pre-built components.
Okay, that makes things faster.
It makes things much faster and more efficient.
Okay.
And they also predict that more and more of the application logic and data storage will move to the cloud.
So our devices,
your device
will essentially become
a thin client.
Okay.
It's just
a screen and a keyboard.
And a keyboard and all the heavy lifting.
Right. The processing happens in the cloud. We're already kind of seeing that.
We are with services like Google Docs, Office 365.
Yeah. Okay.
All of those applications are essentially
running in the cloud.
Yeah. And then
they talk about mashups, which are applications that combine data and functionality from multiple sources. So it's like
it's like creating a Frankenstein application. But in a good way?
In a good way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're taking the best pieces from different applications.
And combining them.
Okay,
I like that.
Into something new and innovative.
Okay.
And
when they wrap up their predictions with a focus on security. Which is always a hot topic.
Like a big one.
And they predict that the cloud will become even more secure than traditional data centers.
Really?
Yeah. They believe that as cloud providers continue to invest in advanced security technologies and practices, the cloud will become the most secure place to store your data.
They see that as the future.
They do, and they envision a world where data is encrypted at rest, in transit, and even during processing.
Okay, so essentially...
The data is always protected.
It's always protected, no matter where it is.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It's a very optimistic vision.
It is.
But I think it's one that's achievable with the right technologies and practices.
Okay, now before we wrap up this chapter,
they
include this really helpful appendix.
They do, on web services security.
Oh, okay.
So this
is where they get into the nuts and bolts of how security works in the cloud.
And they start with the basics.
Yeah, they start with the fundamentals of cryptography.
Okay.
So things like symmetric and asymmetric encryption, digital signatures, hashing algorithms. They explain how those technologies work and why they're important.
So it's like Cryptography 101.
A crash course in cryptography.
I like it. Okay. And they make it really easy to understand.
Good.
Yeah. Like break it down into simple terms.
And then move on.
Yeah. So to XML signature and XML encryption, which are two standards that are widely used for securing web services communications.
And they explain
how those standards work and how they use those cryptographic technologies.
Right, the ones we just talked about.
Yes, to protect your data.
So even if somebody gets their hands on the data.
Exactly. It's useless to them.
Because they can't read
you
it.
You read it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's all about
protecting
your data.
Wow, we've covered a lot.
Yeah,
in this deep dive.
It's been a long journey.
We've talked about the history of cloud computing.
Yes.
The different models, the benefit, the security considerations.
The challenges of designing and building applications.
The different vendors.
Choosing the right vendor.
Yeah, we talked about the future.
The future.
It's been an amazing...
It's been a whirlwind tour of the...
whirlwind tour of the cloud.
Yeah.
But as they point out...
This is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
The cloud is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
There are new things.
Yeah, there's new stuff coming out every day.
Happening all the time.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's an exciting field to be in.
It is.
It's never boring.
That's for sure.
Yeah, there's always something new to learn.
So I guess the big takeaway is...
Yeah, what's the one thing you want people to remember?
What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
The cloud is not just a technology. It's a paradigm shift. Okay. It's a new way of thinking about computing, a new way of building applications, a new way of doing business. Okay. And it's here to stay. Yeah. So embrace it. Explore it.
Explore it.
And let your imagination run wild.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the cloud at your service, I want to leave you with this quote from the book.
Okay.
The cloud is not the destination.
I like that.
It's the journey.
It's the journey.
So keep learning. Keep experimenting.
You're experimenting.
And keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Keep pushing the boundaries.
In the cloud.
The cloud is a vast and unexplored territory. There's so much potential there.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's exciting.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Happy clouding, everyone.
Happy clouding.